we will move on now to the second part of this event. And this takes me back to a meeting that was called back in the summer, where DG Regio and the JRC were beginning the development of a funding toolkit. And we were invited to share inputs into the preparation of that toolkit, which will be launched, and we will be told about that fairly soon. But it seemed to me to be something that our members would be very keen to hear more about. And so I was very anxious that we invite, as a joint presentation, friends from the JRC to speak to us. Now then, Eleftherios Stavropoulos, Terry to many of you, but a very, very good friend of myself and of ERCA and the European Rural Parliament. Terry and I worked together on the Smart Villages thematic group some time ago, and I have a lot of respect for him. And he will be joined by Giulia Testori, and both of them jointly now will present on the current position on the toolkit. And perhaps you might have something to say, although I haven't asked you before, on the Rural Observatory as well. So welcome, Terry and Giulia.
Thank you so much, Tom. Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. It's really important. Those occasions are really important for us to share what we do, to present who we are. Not everybody knows about the Joint Research Center. We thought of using this time, of course, to present you this rural toolkit. This will be more at the end of our presentation. We wanted to show you a little bit also other tools and other things that we have produced that might be important, we hope, for the community. Therefore, I would share the presentation we prepared. Okay. And please let me see if you can see it full screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can? Okay, perfect. So I'm Giulia Testori, project leader of a project that is called RurbaDev. So we work on rural and territorial development strategies. I'm here with Terry, that was just introduced, Terry Stavropoulos. And we work together with other colleagues inside the Joint Research Center. So what is it? The JRC, the Joint Research Center. It's a Directorate General of the European Commission. What we do in a nutshell is to research for policies. We are around 2,000 scientists. We are spread in 6 different sites in 5 countries. We work on very different topics. So our unit, mine and the one of Terry, is the B3, is Territorial Development Unit. So we work on urban and territorial development aspects. We give support to policymakers in all aspects related to urban and rural and territorial in a broader sense. What we do is we research on data, we do create tools, guides, we do workshop, we do peer reviews. So we organize many things at the end in order to foster a better integration to the existing realities on site for policies at the European level. So there are different things that we have been producing so far. We would like to give you a quick overview on let's say, we identify for this occasion 7 things we work on. The presentation will be shared, of course. In every slide, you will see there is a web link where you can access the tool or the publication itself. And at the end, you have our email addresses. So if you have questions, you want to contribute, you want to know more, do not hesitate to write us. So the first one is about a platform. This can be useful for you to have an idea of what is happening at the European level. So it is a data set. It's not specifically on rural issues. It's about cohesion policy in what has been financed in order to do urban and rural development in 2014 and 2020. This is a platform that was developed in 2018, and this is constantly updated. So what we did is that we diffused two very long and complex surveys to managing authorities to understand how the 2000 strategies that have been financed by cohesion policy work. So which are the location, the exact shape of the different strategies, which is the size of population covered, which are the thematic objective, which is the spatial focus. So do they tackle urban area? Do they tackle a specific neighborhood? Do they tackle a region? Do they tackle a rural area? So by searching inside this tool, you are able to have an overview through and have different information that I will show in a second. Cohesion policy is fundamental for territorial development in general. You know that we have the SUD, sustainable strategies, so sustainable urban development strategies. And then in areas that are non-urban, we have ITI, integrated territorial approach, and community-led local development, which are also combined and have been combined with the leader strategies. So we think that it can be interesting for you to access this tool. What you have, it's a map that changes constantly. So you can see it with countries, you can see it with the, for example, if you want to see just the community local-led development, and you have all different filters. So for example, you want to see strategies that worked on depopulation, let's say, or on nature-based solution. And then you can see how funds were used, for example. You can download absolutely all data, and you can see a description also at the country level for how different countries are tackling various issues. And then you have fishes specifically on a strategy, and you can see, you can access to all the websites and projects. So this thing didn't exist before. It has been a huge work that we have been doing. Now we're establishing a new agreement to start updating all information and make these huge surveys for the current programming period 21-27. What we think that can be also interesting for you, it's a very new page. It has been just published online. So if you go to new, so here in the page, we established, we created the learning from practice. So here you can see lots of case studies that in short fish or extended description that are particularly focused and relevant on those topics. So strategies and projects on monitoring, for example, or that were particularly interesting for funding and finance, on governance, and so on. So by clicking on the different points, you have some fishes with all the links. We think that also this can be relevant and interesting for your case. Then let's say this is one of our main publication, which is the Territorial and Local Development Strategies Handbook. This is a handbook that you can download online. It's also a platform. It says to who is designing and implementing strategies, and who is monitoring them in all areas that are non-urban. It aims to serve as managing and local authorities and stakeholders to follow this complex process. It is divided into 6 building blocks. This is how we call it. I'm just showing you which is, let's say, the index, the table of content of this handbook. There are many aspects that can be interesting. So, like, for example, how to strengthen urban-rural linkages, which elements you should take in account to have cross-sectoral territorial strategy, how to benefit for different kinds of supports. So every chapter, that you see, it has different challenges, which are what we identified as one of the main challenges that local and managing authority face when designing strategies. And there are recommendations, there are examples that are already in the page, so they have a connection with Stratford. And there are also references to other reports and tools that deal with this. Then there is another tool that we developed. Also, this can be quite useful. I would say not just for who's designing strategies, but for everyone that is dealing with projects or an integrated project, let's say, in an area that is other than urban area. This is a self-assessment tool. So it's a tool that you can access online that is divided into 6 building blocks, the one I was showing you before. And it is composed by different statements. It works like this. So here you will see, you can write the name of the strategy or the name of your project, and you have the 6 building blocks. So let's say we open the number 4, which is cross-sectoral integration. And we are asking, for example, the strategy takes advantage of contribution from different departments, agencies, stakeholders in order to overcome silos. So you can think about your strategy and your project and you say, no, actually we're working, not cooperating with other. I would score, for example, 1, we're low on this point, or 4, we're really good. So you basically start putting points. At the end, you will have a diagram that is showing you where you are better and what can be improved. If you feel you're not good enough, you can click on this plus, and the plus gives you additional info and basically takes you back to the handbook that I showed you before, but specifically to that specific challenge. So you don't need to read all the handbook, but if you're particularly interested in one aspect, you can go directly and see this. We also show interesting examples that have scored high in this tool. Something extremely important is that it is anonymous. If you want, you can share the data with the Joint Research Center or not. It is not done to evaluate your project or strategy. If you send it to us, it's a way for us to have an overview of which are the main challenges and who's filling it, but which strategy and which projects are filling it. So we have been sharing it quite a lot around. We will probably do another launch event in January. And we have been seeing so far that it's quite useful to have a general overview and to access to specific resources that can help you improve that aspect. There is another icon here. This is for the notes. So basically you can write your notes. For example, you are doing it, you want to pass it to another colleagues, and you can say, I don't know, Carol, I scored here 1, but please check if you agree with this. And so you can basically work on this together. At the end of the tool, you don't have to fill it all in once because it can take a little bit of time. You have the possibility to download what you did so far and then to re-upload again if you want to continue filling it. At the end, this can be downloaded as a PDF with all your results and notes, or also as an Excel file so that you can continue working on it. This is a tool that you can use inside your municipality, inside your network to let's say, test how things are going. Good. Then there is another publication that we thought it might be interesting for you. This is not specifically for rural areas, but it's more targeted to towns that are from, let's say, 5,000 to 50,000 inhabitants, but it can be interpreted in a broader manner. It is called Policy Atlas for Sustainable Urban Development for Small Urban Areas. Again, it is open and targets any kinds of stakeholder that is interested in the topic. And the aim is to try, what we did is a really broad analysis and trying to understand which are the main policies, challenges for small urban areas. In what do they find it hard to implement projects, to develop them, to understand the vision and so on. And we understood by looking at hundreds of case studies, there are some policy challenges that are quite recurrent. that I will show you in a second. The atlas is structured in 3 parts. So one, it's about more the development trends and the main challenges. The second one, it's about policy approaches. So how these challenges could be solved and showing cases that actually were able to tackle this aspect. And the third one, as we constantly work in relation with cohesion policy and how cohesion policy is actually contributing to solving this aspect, we see how sustainable urban development strategy were actually an important backbone, financial, administratively, and to solve and tackle those aspects. So we identified 5 of them. We see that in many cases, what can be useful to revitalize a town that is going into decline, there can be various aspects. One, it's about reactivating places. So in some cases, it can be about a building. It's a vacant building, it's a vacant land. What do you do with it? In many cases, it's about thinking of a new use. But in other, we saw that what really works is when more stakeholders are involved and when other alternative ways of using this space are thought. So it's about a self-management, it's about commons, it's about spaces for aggregation. But so we offer lots of different examples that we find interesting. Another one is about rediscovering uniqueness. And this is about your small town might have endogenous local assets that could be, let's say, fostered or improved. It can be about thinking of this smallness, which is the beauty of this smallness. Is it about a specific products that you are good in? Is it about environmental aspects? Is it more about attracting tourists? So it's about trying to understand the vision on how to improve the future of a town. Then it's about connection with nature, which is not about just parks, but it's also about bioeconomy. It is also about, let's say, local agriculture and so on. Then is reinventing smart public services. This is about how can you see examples of who has been working with digital aspects, for example, for public services and how they managed and which kind of services they used to do that? And the final one is about reimagining governance. So reimagining the various interlinkages between local stakeholders and the various, let's say, departments of the municipality, the region, and the member state. So we show also here examples of interesting and inspiring aspects. So I will now give the floor to my colleague, Terry, who will give you an overview on the aspect that Alexia mentioned. Again, I want to thank Alexia. I think you did a great presentation. Yeah, it is about the Rural Observatory, startup villages, and finally, the Rural Toolkit, which is not online yet, but Terry will tell you everything about it. Please.
Thank you, Giulia. I wish to thank also Tom, Vanessa, Ben, and all the team for the invitation today. It's indeed a great pleasure always and an honor to be among you guys. You have been working all these years so dedicated on the rural areas, and I only wish to thank you for that. So the Rural Observatory, as Alexia also mentioned, is one of the 6 horizontal actions described in the long-term vision for rural areas. And of course, it came as a necessity from the public consultation with the stakeholders during the drafting of the communication, the long-term vision for rural areas. And then we decided together with DG Agri, Regio, and of course, the colleagues from the Eurostat to establish the Rural Observatory in order to be able to offer more data that provide a better idea about the situation in the rural areas. The platform which is available to all of you is structured around 4 functionalities. So you can have a rural focus that shows you how the areas that are classified as rural in each country compare with those classified as urban. You can have another functionality, which is My Place, which offers you a 360-degree overview of any place, be it a region, a sub-region, or let's say a smaller community. And there you can have, of course, the possibility to compare with other places on a range of indicators that are available for these areas. Of course, we have limitations with the data. There are cases where we have available data for some indicators only on NUTS2 level or on NUTS3 level, but the effort is made to go as low as possible, because this is where you can get better insights of the situation of the smaller communities. Let's go, and a last comment perhaps for the Rural Observatory is that what we do is also thematic analysis. So it's not just gathering of data and combination of data. It's that we work with this data in order to come up with meaningful messages for the rural communities. And we publish also some dedicated papers there that give you a better interpretation of our findings for different themes that concern rural areas. It can be energy communities in rural areas and data around them. It can be things about education and many other aspects that concern you. Let's go then to the next slide and give you some idea about the Rural Toolkit, where also we had the benefit of Tom joining us back in June when we did the first validation of our toolkit. And let me say that in all the, let's say, work for the long-term vision for rural areas, together with Alexa and colleagues from DG Agri, what we made our, let's say, pattern was to work together with the stakeholders, not to produce tools that are just, let's say, the conception of the Commission, but to invite the rural stakeholders that really know well the needs of the rural communities and to design our tools and to improve them together. So the Rural Toolkit, which is, of course, one of the flagship projects of the long-term vision for rural areas, is an online dashboard of funding opportunities for rural development. We have worked twice with rural stakeholders to improve it, one in June and one recently in October during the European Week of Regions and Cities. And we have a very mature final version in our hands, and we plan to launch it sometime in February. We will share with ERCA and you soon all the information, and we will be very happy to join us in this launch event. It will be hosted in the Rural Revitalization Platform, for which Alexia already gave you an idea of what is about. And let's continue. It is a guide for different funding opportunities offered by 2021-2007 budget. Why? Because, of course, you are more or less familiar with what is happening on the rural development fund side. Maybe some of you are also working a lot with cohesion policy, But what we realized from the stakeholder consultation of a long-term vision for rural areas was that in many rural areas, the administrative capacity is small. And of course, there is no idea about the other funding opportunities that can trigger revitalization of the rural areas. And of course, another concern was how to uh, pay special attention to integrated territorial and local development strategies, which can, of course, serve in a more meaningful way the needs of rural areas. We wanted also to have. Can you hear me?
I've lost you, Terry.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Now we
Okay,
can.
I lost you briefly also for a minute. So we wanted also to be a tool accessible by all rural actors. It can be local authorities, it can be cooperatives, local action groups in rural areas, simple stakeholders like an SME, etc. To be written in plain language because we will not hide it. You all know that sometimes even us in the Commission we're using jargon which is not very easy to understand by many of us. And we hear that as a complaint also from our parents, from our relatives and friends, also in the rural areas that we're coming. So we took a lot of care when we prepared the rural toolkit to present all the information in as plain language as possible. And also the other thing that we did was to provide inspirational solution and examples, because it's another thing to hear that there is this funding opportunity that can help you to implement your project in this or that sector. But it's more useful if that comes with practical examples that look, this little municipality in Sweden, they used this fund for this and that purpose. And that can really help you and inspire you, because you can say, ah, since they did it, I can do it and even perhaps do it better. Let's go one slide further. So the final aim is, as I said, to promote the revitalization and the sustainable local development, and to support the place-based policy in rural areas. Of course, we also pay attention to these four, let's say, pillars of the long-term vision: the stronger, the connected, the prosperous, and the resilient rural communities. And that's why the information that you will find in the rural toolkit identifies also the different funds and programs divided in these categories. And if we go one further, because I've mentioned all that, here you have an idea more or less and a look and like feeling of the first page of the tool. So you can we start with an overview. What is this tool? What is the aim that comes to serve? Soon now we are completing an explanatory and promotional video that will help you to see in an easier way how you can use the tool and what functionalities it offers. And we're also completing at this point a Q&A section and a glossary section to help you with all this jargon that sometimes is contained in the Commission information. The other feature that I wanted to mention here is the funding finder. So here at this corner, according to your, let's say, background, you may be a local authority, you can be an SME, an NGO. You click what type of, let's say, beneficiary you are. And then you can collect, also you can select the area on which you're looking to find funding opportunities. Let's say I'm interested in doing something around education. As soon as I press these filters, then my choices come up. And the choices are divided in either what we call in the European language direct managed funds, so funds that the Commission services and the agencies are managing and they launch calls from Brussels, or they're share managed programs and funds which are administered by the national or the regional authorities in one member state. So you can then click on these options and you will find dedicated, detailed ID cards for every of these funding options, where you can see who is managing it, what is the budget of this or that fund or program, and you can also find why it's relevant for rural areas, which is the very important thing. We took a lot of care together with the different DGs and the agencies of the Commission to really apply the rural lenses and identify those programs that can really be used by small local municipalities and stakeholders in rural areas. I mean, we could have added a lot of other programs, but those will not be able to, let's say, apply from the side of the rural stakeholder. So we really worked in order to identify the ones that are more pertinent to smaller local authorities and stakeholders. And of course, the other section, if we go one further.
Terry, I will interrupt you just 1 second to add one,
Yes.
I think, crucial information. So
Indeed.
maybe you will see now lots of acronyms and it sounds very complicated, but I can guarantee you that then by passing on the mouse, you will see what that specific EIT means. And inside you will see all the fishes that is explained in a plain language, as Terry was saying. But what I think is really relevant that we need to clarify, this is not a tool to apply for funds. So it's not that by clicking, you can basically start the process for asking for funds, but it's to get you informed of what it's available and what and how LIFE program can specifically contribute to rural area and how CREA can as well. So I think that this is really important. It was not existing before, so we think it's already a big improvement. Unfortunately, and I say this because I try to put myself in your shoes, we cannot access directly to the fund in this way. You will need to go to the specific agency or fund. Okay, Terry, back to you.
Thanks, Giulia. And the other, of course, that you will find in all these pieces for each program, for each funding opportunity, is that most of them, like LIFE that Giulia mentioned, etc., they have also national contact points to help you. So we have included also that information. So that can make perhaps your life easier because you can pick up the phone and come in contact with someone in your own capital that can give you the information. And a last piece of information is that apart from programs, funding programs, we also included mechanisms, support mechanisms that can be useful for rural communities. Alexia mentioned during her presentation, for example, the facility of DG Energy to support rural communities, rural energy communities. So this information is also there. We have included also support mechanisms that can help you, all the information for the enterprise, European Enterprise Network, because this is another support mechanism that you can use to support your SME, to even prepare your business plan. So although the tool, as Giulia said, cannot help you prepare your application, it's only there to help you to identify your options. but some mechanisms that we included there can help you go this step further. Let's go one step. So this is another important element of the tool, is the get inspired. As I said, we made a lot of effort so that for every program and fund that is described in this tool to have also two examples how it has been used by a rural community, by a rural stakeholder to inspire you. But then we have also made an extra effort to identify examples where we have multi-fund approach. So it can be a project where life was combined, life program was combined together with the RDF, or a recovery and resilience fund together with rural development and ESF. So we have some of these inspirational stories, and in the tool there is also this map from where you can see the different examples, and we try to populate this map. So we launched the survey. ERCA was among the stakeholders that helped us to disseminate this survey, and we are thinking now with Giulia and the colleagues from DG Regio and DG Agri to launch it again so that we can populate even more this area with inspirational examples. And of course, for all these examples that I said that we have, the two examples per fund, you will be again able to find them also through this map to see in which country they have materialized, etc. The last aspect of the rural toolkit is the resources. So we have included here, for example, the handbook of territorial and local development strategies that Giulia mentioned earlier, because of course it gives you a lot of insights how you can prepare your local integrated strategy, how you can avert from doing mistakes that others did, what are, let's say, good practices in doing participatory approach and engaging your citizens and your local stakeholders, etc. But also we found that some EU services have produced very dedicated guides how, let's say, you can fund projects in broadband, how you can fund projects in culture. So we have added all these guides to help you even further in your work. And let's go further. And the other, of course, element of the toolkit is the about page, where you can learn why this funding guide for rural areas, how it is helpful and how it works, and what type of funding opportunities are available, etc. What I was saying more or less before. Now, the European Startup Villages Forum. So these also was mentioned by Alexia in her presentation. It is part of the efforts of the long-term vision for rural areas. We have committed, as Alexia said, in 9 goals, and one of them is to support innovation, research and technology and entrepreneurship in the rural areas because we want them to make this, let's say, transformation until 2020. Many of you know the smart villages, and Tom said it, that we have been working closely on developing the concept of the smart villages and testing in different pilots how we can support local communities to create the smart villages strategy, etc. Now we want to put emphasis with the startup villages on the element of the innovative entrepreneurship, because we know that it's not innovation, research and technology only privilege of the urban areas. This is something also for the rural areas, and there is a lot of potential in the rural areas. And in order to support that, our previous commissioner came up with this concept that was incorporated into the long-term vision for rural areas. And now there is a team of very dedicated colleagues in JRC that have developed the concept of the startup villages. And it's about, as you see here, combining local place, people, and purposes with external knowledge sources and markets, so that the startup village can strive to provide favorable conditions for entrepreneurial innovative ecosystems. The idea behind is that we see that in many rural areas, if there is also this supportive environment where there is, let's say, a community hub to host enterprises, where there is strong and fast internet, etc. All these are preconditions to have innovative entrepreneurship. And now we are in a phase where, again, we will need your help. We have this mapping tool where we try to identify cases around Europe that are, let's say, have this understanding of how innovation functions in rural areas. And if you can just log into the Startup Villages mapping tool, you will find the link also to the survey. It doesn't take.
You're muted, Tari.
Sorry, which parts did you lose?
No, couple of seconds.
Okay. So as I said, log on the Startup Villages mapping tool, find the survey, and take 15, 20 minutes to reply. It will help us to see, let's say, which communities are close to fulfilling all these criteria or want to become one of the Startup Villages communities, and we can offer you there more support. Giulia, any other aspects that you want to complement, perhaps?
No, I think that was we're already ahead of time. Sorry, we passed the time. But I think that was all. As you see, there are lots of things that we do. There are many activities. So we hope they can be useful for you. And yeah, please, you can write us or contact us. Or we're here also to reply to your question clearly.